They turned the corner and saw nearly headless Nick standing in the doorway hung with black velvet drapes. "My dear friends," he said mournfully, "welcome, welcome. So pleased you can come." He swept off his plummet hat and bowed them inside. It was an incredible sight. The dungeon was full of hundreds of purely white, translucent people, mostly drifting around the crowded dance floor, waltzing to the dreadful quarrying sound of 30 musical saws playing by an orchestra on a raised black-draped platform. A chandelier overhead blazed midnight blue with 1,000 more black candles. Their breath rose in mist before them. It was like stepping into a freezer. "Shall we have a look around?" Harry suggested, wanting to warm up his feet. "Careful not to walk through anyone," said Ron nervously as they set off around the edge of the dance floor. They passed a group of gloomy nuns, a ragged man wearing chains, and a fat friar, a cheerful Hufflepuff ghost who was talking to a knight with an arrow sticking out of his forehead. Harry wasn't surprised to see the bloody Baron, a gaunt, staring Slytherin ghost covered in silver blood stains, was being given a wide berth by the other ghosts. "Oh no," said Hermione, stopping abruptly. Turn back, I don't want to talk to Moaning Myrtle." "Who?" said Harry, as they backtracked quickly. "She haunts one of the toilets in the girls' bathroom on the first floor," said Hermione. "She haunts the toilet?" "She haunts the toilet?" "Yes, it's been out of order all year because she keeps having tantrums and flooding the place. I never went there anyway, if I could avoid it. It's an awful thing to have to pee with her wailing at you." "Look, food," said Ron. On the other side of the dungeon was a long table, also covered by black velvet. They approached it eagerly, but the next moment they had stopped in their tracks, horrified. The smell was quite disgusting. Large rotten fish were laid on the handsome silver plates. Cakes burned charcoal black were heaped on salvers. There was a great maggoty haggis, a slab of cheese covered in fury green mold, and in pride of place, an enormous grey cake was shaped of a tombstone with tar-like icing forming the words, "Sir Nicholas de Montmeat." Sir Nicholas Mimsy Porpington died 31st October 1492. Harry watched, amazed, as portly ghost approached the table, crouched low, and walked through it, his mouth held wide so that it passed through one of the stinking salmon. Can you taste what you walked through?" Harry asked him. "Almost," said the ghost sadly, and drifted away. "I expect they've left it to rot to give it a stronger flavor," said Hermione knowledgeably, pinching her nose and leaning towards it to look at the putrid haggis. "Can we move? I feel sick," said Ron. They barely turned around, however, when a little man swooped suddenly from under the table and came to halt in midair before them. "Hello, Peeves," said Harry cautiously. Unlike the ghosts around them, Peeves the poltergeist was the very reverse of pale and transparent. He was wearing a bright orange party hat and a revolting bow tie, and a broad grin on his wide, wicked face. "Nibbles," he said sweetly, offering them a bowl of peanuts covered in fungus. "No, thanks," said Hermione. "Heard you talking about poor Myrtle," said Peeves, his eyes dancing. "Rude that was about poor Myrtle." He took a deep breath and bellowed, "Oh, Myrtle!" "Oh, no, Peeves. Don't tell her what I said. She'll be really upset," Hermione whispered frantically. "I didn't mean it. I don't mind her. Hello, Myrtle." The squat ghost of the girl had glided over. She was the glummest face Harry had ever seen, half hidden behind a length of hair and thick, pearly spectacles. "What?" she said sulkily. How are you, Myrtle? Said Hermione in a falsely bright voice. It's nice to see you out of the toilet. Myrtle sniffled. Miss Granger was talking about you, said Peeves slyly in Myrtle's ears. Just saying how nice you look tonight, said Hermione, glaring at Peeves. Myrtle eyed Hermione suspiciously. You're making fun of me, she said, silver tears welling rapidly in her small, see-through eyes. No, honestly, didn't I say how nice Myrtle's looking, said Hermione, nudging Harry and Ron painfully in the ribs. Oh, yeah, she did. Oh, yeah, she did. Don't lie to me, Myrtle gasped, tears now floating down her face. Aw. While Peeves chuckled happily over his shoulder. Did you think I don't know what people call me behind my back? Fat Myrtle, ugly Myrtle, miserable, moaning, mopping Myrtle. You've forgotten Pimply, Peeves hissed in her ears. Moaning Myrtle burst into anguished sobs and fled from the dungeon. Peeves shot after her, pelting her with moldy peanuts, yelling, Pimply! Oh dear, said Hermione. I liked Peeves in the first book, but I don't like how he's mean to Myrtle. Myrtle deserves better. Oh dear, said Hermione sadly. Narrowly Headless Nick now drift towards them through the crowd. Enjoying yourselves? Oh yes, they lied. Not a bad turnout, said Narrowly Headless Nick proudly. The Welling Widow came all the way up from Kent. It's nearly time for my speech. I better go and warn that orchestra. The orchestra, however, stopped playing at the very moment. They and everyone else around the dungeon fell silent, looking around in excitement, as a haunting horn sounded. Oh, here we go, said Narrowly Headless Nick bitterly. Through the dungeon wall burst a dozen ghost horses, each ridden by headless horsemen. The assembly clapped wildly. Harry started to clap too, but stopped quickly at the sight of Nick's face. The horse galloped into the middle of the dance floor and halted, rearing and plummeting. All at the front of the pack was a large ghost who had his bearded head under his arm, from which position he was blowing the horn. The ghost leapt down, lifted his head high into the air so that he could see over the crowd. Everyone laughed. They strode over to Nearly Headless Nick, squashing his head back onto his head. Nick, he roared, how are you? Head still hanging in there? He gave a hearty guffaw, and slapped a Nearly Headless Nick on the shoulder. Welcome, Patrick, said Nick stiffly. Live-ons, said Sir Patrick, spotting Harry, Ron, and Live-ons, said Nick. Sir Patrick, spotting Ron and Hermione and giving a huge fake jump of astonishment so that his head fell off again. The crowd howled with laughter. Very amusing, said Narrowly Headless Nick darkly. Don't mind Nick, shouted Sir Patrick's head from the floor. Still upset we won't let him to join the hunt. But I mean, say, look at the fellow. I think, said Harry hurriedly, a meaningful look from Nick. Nick's very frightening and, ha! Yelled Sir Patrick's head. Bet he asked you to say that. If I could have everyone's attention, it's time for my speech, said Narrowly Headless Nick, loudly, striding towards the podium and climbing into the icy blue spotlight. My late laminated lords, ladies and gentlemen, it's in my great sorrow. But nobody heard much more. Sir Patrick and the rest of the Headless Hunt had just started a game of head hockey, and the crowd was turning to watch. Nearly Headless Nick tried vainly to recapture his audience, but gave up as Sir Patrick's head went sailing past him to loud cheers. He doesn't deserve this. It's his death day, not theirs. They can't just interrupt. He's supposed to be the day. He died. Let him have it. Let him have a day to himself.